2023 is called to order. Carla, will you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Commissioner McAdoo.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Gooch.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner P.
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
And Commissioner Phillips.
Present.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time for this special call meeting. Before we move forward, I would like to recognize the Vice Chair in approving the minutes of the previous meeting where we went through the authority for this particular purchasing that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. So do you see that, Mr. P., and do you, Commissioner P.?
I have read through these minutes, and I concur that we should accept them as written. So I'll make a motion to approve these minutes. And let me explain a little bit about what it's saying. It's basically a description of
Thank you.
of the meeting that Mayor Carr and Director Sullivan had discussing bids from the consulting firms. And one of my concerns about this was, we've got one person doing this on its own. I felt much more comfortable also having Dr. Sullivan in on this too. So we got more than one eyes, and then we were told it would come back to this committee to make a decision. So anyway, we got a motion and a second, I guess, so there you go.
Yeah, thank you. But I'm glad you did the explanation. That was appropriate. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, if you'll say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, minutes are approved. Before we get to the purpose of the special call, Chief Farley has something he would like for us to address real quickly under other business. So we're going to take other business first, out of order. Won't take but a second. So Chief Farley, if you'll explain to us what we've got, and do you have copies of this?
I guess it was over a year ago we bid out our uniforms to Galls,
Here you go.
and because of inflation and their suppliers going up on their cost, they want to increase our cost. I think it was like their cost is 8%, ours 10%. And there's a chart in there that shows you the new price and the current price. And I think if you add them all together, the total is $53.57. This was sent to Laura Brink's email in September. Rachel caught it.
Chief, for our new members, Laura Brinks was our previous purchasing officer in the mayor's office.
And so Rachel caught it, called me and asked me, was I good with the increase? And I said yes. So they sent it to Nick, and Nick reviewed it and said it was in accordance with the contract, and the email was in there. And all we just need to get that person to approve it. That was sent on September the 16th. The email was sent back October 25th to Michael Smith, Rachel Lahue, and Carl Hill. And for some reason, it was not forwarded on to us. So we got an envelope in the mail, a certified mail yesterday, asking us for confirmation on the price increase, which is a combined increase. So after we discussed it with Laura and Carl, we realized it had been an oversight. It wasn't given to us. So I'm here today to ask your permission to continue that contract with a price increase.
The total price increase is how much?
It's $53.57 if you add all. There's a couple items going up.
$5,357?
No, $53.
Well, you didn't make that clear.
Excuse
You
me,
said
$53.57. Is that
Per
a week?
uniform,
It's
or
just
is
for
that total?
it's a total of all the items that we purchase.
So to be clear,
Be
we're
combined.
talking about $53.57 total. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that in your budget?
Yeah,
$50?
Well, I think
If not,
we give each employee a lot.
You're out of order.
The way they set up, they can go online to Galls, and each person has an account, and they got a certain amount of money they can spend. So once that money's spent, it shuts them down and helps us control it better. I think like the job shirt, it gone up to $70. It was $65. And then my captain told me today that they discontinued that and come out with a new product with the same thing, and it was actually $60 instead of $65, so it went down.
So, Commissioner Gooch, I would assume from your comments that was a motion to accept?
motion to accept, approving the $53.
And 57
I want to
cents.
round up to $54.
Okay.
Well, look,
Do we have a second?
Second.
I've got a question.
Please.
Is this price per uniform?
No, it's,
57.
Well, that's why I asked, is it the total? It's the
prices is all
total,
covered.
which is why.
This is all amended. Were they going up on separate items?
Jeff, write him a check.
Is it total for?
Is that what I heard you say?
Like on the uniform
Yeah, one
itself,
year.
it, like
For the
certain
year.
items went up just a little bit of percentage,
Really?
but that total was $53.
Yeah, if you combine all the,
Okay.
addition all together.
Okay.
$53 a year.
I heard two different things out of my,
Some items went down and then some of them went up very well.
At the risk of extending this lively debate, we have a motion and a second. If there is no further questions or discussion, I'll call the vote, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner P?
yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooch?
Hold on a second. Commissioner, are you sure you don't want to think about this one?
I made a motion, so I want to say yes.
Thank you, sir.
No discussion.
Guys.
Okay. Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chief Farley. For the entertainment.
If you think of what it was, give me a call, Mr. Phillips.
Okay.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
precise.
Yes. Now we have us before us the contracts. Commissioner Harris, you want to come sit with us? I know you got some questions, and I certainly want to give you the opportunity to ask whatever questions you have. So these are the contracts, and I've, Dr. Sullivan, why don't you join us as well, please? And Michael, if you want to join us, you may. You might. We got one more seat for you if you want to come on up. I don't think we're going to need you, but we want to make sure you join. So, Dr. Sullivan and I did, as per the purchasing meeting request, we did the interviews, and we got a number of bids in. Some of them, one in particular, did not qualify because there was a conflict of interest, which is exactly why we wanted to vet the firms and their client list. And after we had a chance to talk to these gentlemen, I think Dr. Sullivan and I both were fairly pleased with the results of the RFP. But we're here, and so we have selected, the county has selected these three that are in front of you. Dr. Sullivan has selected two others, and that the other two were the Vogel Group and Capital Fifth. Okay, so there are total between Rutherford County Schools and Rutherford County 5 different lobbying firms that have agreed to contract with Rutherford County and Rutherford County Schools for the purpose of amending TCA 67-4-2901, which is the 2006 County Powers Relief Act. And so with that, we selected these three for the county, and then of course Dr. Sullivan can answer any questions you have with the other two, but quite honestly, he's approved those contracts and sent those on. So I'll be glad to take and entertain any questions or comments about how we got to this point.
I guess my question, Mayor,
Please.
is, so is there going to be, I guess it's my assumption that a lobbyist would represent both of us. But now is it where a lobbyist is going to represent the school board and a separate lobbyist?
So the law is yes to both questions. The law is very clear. When a lobbyist registers, the first thing they have to do is they have to register their client list at the beginning of the session. So it makes it difficult if you have a shared list. Okay. So what we decided after talking to the lobbyists, is it'd be best if the county had a group of lobbyists, in this case these three, and Rutherford County Schools had a different set of lobbyists. All 5 lobbying firms will be working on the same issue, okay, in a coordinated fashion. But for disclosure purposes, according to state law, it was better that we did it this way. That's why we divided it.
And they all requested that.
Yes, they all requested that, and once they explained it, it made perfect sense, to be quite honest.
And I'll add part of the reason that it is separate for the school system as well. We have a separate issue that we would like their support with.
Yes.
I mentioned it with Health and Ed a little bit. We have a TISA change that we would like someone that would bring in extra funding for the school system infrastructure. So we've asked them to lobby for that.
So 2 would register with the school board being the client, and then 3 with the county commission.
Yes, sir, we're
being
being
the client, or the county being the client.
And to add what Dr. Sullivan is saying, they're gonna want some help on TISA. And so we're gonna want some help on the forensic center, right? So that's also in play here, but the primary purpose and focus is what we stated in the 2006 County Powers Relief Act, in the amendment to that bill.
Well, I was kind of looking at this contract with Crux.
Yes,
Okay. So,
that's Matt King.
Okay, and it's, I lost my page. Okay, their fee would be $5,000 a month,
Correct.
$60,000 annually.
But that, yes,
So-
and that is not correct. That will have to go back and be corrected because we cannot spend beyond June 30th. And so that is a typo, and that will be corrected before that comes to the commission on Thursday. That'll read 30,000 because we cannot spend into obviously the next fiscal year.
So.
So that is a typo.
So, okay, so Chairman P, is it my understanding that we approved $100,000?
Yes, sir.
And 50 of it's from the school board?
No,
and
sir.
100 from the county?
Yes, sir. That's a separate 50.
A separate 50?
Yes, sir.
So we got 50,
No, we got 100.
we got 100, and y'all were doing yours?
Yep.
And is that over 2 years?
No, that's to June 30th, because the session begins. They've gavelled in, and they will adjourn probably mid-April. So we put to the end of May in case they an extended session, but these contracts will not extend beyond the fiscal year. So the $100,000 was to be allocated and spent for the next 6 months.
Couple of questions.
Please.
When we talked about the idea of lobbying, we actually talked about a lobbying firm, and now we come up with 3. Could you explain the reason and rationale behind why we decided on 3? There's certain things about it that make sense, but I just need.
Sure. The lift of this effort is not insignificant, as Commissioner Phillips, you probably more than anybody already know. And when the county commission agreed to the $100,000 figure, and I started talking to various lobbying firms, a number of people made it clear to me on this issue, if we're going to be successful, and every day I grow more optimistic, we're going to have boots on the ground. And when I say boots on the ground, I'm talking about up at the legislature. Having said that, it's still a big lift for me personally. I mean, I've been sharing with some of you, I was in Jackson, Tennessee last week speaking to part of the state legislative delegation and probably 50, 60 city and county mayors. I was in Murray County last Friday getting an additional financial commitment out of Murray County. I will be getting up at 3:30 this Thursday morning to meet with Knox County Mayor on this issue. And so, we have got the support of a number of conservative grassroots organizations across the state, formerly known as Tea Party organizations. They are in support of this. The Americans for Prosperity, I've been talking to them. They are in support, and they may even put this on their bucket list of things to advocate. So, honestly, our window for the opportunity, Commissioner, is now, and I think it was in our best interest to get as much help as we possibly could for a positive effect.
So in essence, 3 firms knocking on the door is better than 1 firm
Yes, sir.
knocking on the door.
Yes, sir. And not only that, but grassroots organizations knocking on the door. The Tennessee Star, both the radio network and their website will be participating. So this is having a little bit of experience in doing this in a previous life in the Tennessee General Assembly, trying to fix something that is broken, like our illegal immigration laws. I kind of understand that you don't leave any stone unturned, and I just didn't want to have any regrets. So yes, three is better than 1.
That's the rationale behind that, and I understand that.
And one other thing, it wasn't just about boots on the ground. Some lobbyists, many lobbyists have, it's all about relationships up there. And so some lobbyists have better relationships in the Senate, and some have better in the House. And we need both. right? So I didn't want to hire a lobbyist who was really good in the Senate without having a positive effect in the House and vice versa. So there was some of that too.
One of the things that hurt us in the past is the fact that, to me, it's a fact that legislators across the state considered the County Powers Relief Act part of the County Powers Act and considered it a good thing and didn't want to do away with the good thing. So really, a lot of legislators didn't know what the County Powers Relief Act was all about. So the lobbying effort, and as all we've discussed before, would probably really straighten that thing up. And as time has gone by and more counties have grown, and they're facing this similar things to what Rutherford County's facing, and they've come to realize what the County Powers Relief Act is really all about. So I think the momentum is building, and at least we have an opportunity now to score. And in the past, we haven't had that opportunity. It just didn't get to first base.
That's correct.
And one other thing, I think we're talking about 3 firms, and only 2 firms applied. How did we come up with the third?
No, we had more than that apply.
Okay.
So I can't remember there was one firm that applied, and there was to be quite honest, they had a conflict of interest with the very entity that is going to be in direct opposition to what we're trying to do.
Which is?
What's the name of the firm?
No, not the firm, but what's the conflict? What was the conflict?
Real estate development.
Okay.
I feel like I don't know what you want to say here. I can speak.
Very simple.
How many firms did y'all interview?
Was it 5?
Yes, because there were mixtures of the different groups.
Right, and
Yeah.
so and one of these firms, Crux, came to the table, and they were the ones. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Crux is the one that came to the table and said, "We're bringing to the table, but we're going to bring with us additional firms because we understand the nature of this lift." And so Crux is the one. Matt King with Crux used to be Lieutenant Governor Ron Ramsey's chief of staff. And so he's extremely well connected in the Senate. And so he thought, well, I've got the Senate, I need help in the House. Will Denami, which is in here, has represented the property tax assessors in the House. He's represented Hamilton County, represents Williamson County, and he was in the House as a lobbyist when I was up there in 2008. And I remember specifically how effective he was in government affairs. And then the other company is the Poplar Group. That is a communications firm, and they specialize with the relationships and the contacts in the governor's office directly. And so we've got in these 3, we've got the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And I just think that's a solid approach. We'll find out how good it is in about 3 or 4 months, with y'all's blessing, of course.
A couple of comments I'd like to make. One is, over the last couple of years, I've got multiple calls from budget chairmen out of other counties saying, what do we do? And I've told them our story, and I've told them the suggestion. I've talked to Charlie Curtis about this, and one of the things that he suggested is that the counties that are experiencing most of this growth kind of get together and work together, and basically that's what this is doing. The other thing, I just want to let y'all know that there are other counties been reaching out to us saying, hey, we need help here. But the other thing, I've seen these contracts for the first time. Have these been looked over and approved by our county attorney?
They have.
So he's next.
They have. They've been approved.
Okay.
There was some question, and I remember some conversation about a timing issue with having a lobbyist contract in place before the legislative session started. And I understand from what you just said, I didn't think it started till Thursday. But
I didn't either, but apparently it started today. And so I was misunderstood. And then so, to be honest with you, Commissioner, that kind of put me in a bit of a panic because I was hoping it was Thursday. But I talked to Matt King at Crux today. He's talked to the Ethics Commission about the timing of what we're trying to do and the timing of when they can lobby for us, because they cannot lobby on our behalf until they register us as a client. That's very important. And so we want to follow the letter of the law here. Absolutely. And so I talked to Matt King probably a couple of hours ago. He's talked to Ethics. He said, you guys go ahead and finish your process. If your process turns out like we hope, call me Friday morning and send me the signed contracts, and we will register and we will begin immediately. And I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with that.
So all that should happen this week.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And I also talked with the Ethics Commission, and from the time that we make an agreement, we have 7 calendar days.
Well, say I didn't know that.
So
Good. Excellent.
if we, even if it starts
To register? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes.
Or for them to register?
We both have to register.
Right.
So
But in 7 days.
it's 7 calendar days, and it can be online. So
It's my
weekends count.
Right. So it's my intent. Again, if this is approved by this committee and then forwarded to full commission for approval, it's my intent to have the registration done on Friday. That'll be at the top of my list of things to do.
Popular Group
Yes, sir.
also has a 5,000 monthly.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. 25 for this fiscal year. They're 25
Okay.
for this fiscal year.
And what about, I didn't see anything for
Denami
Denami.
is 35 for this fiscal. Everything's this fiscal year, gentlemen. So 25 for Popular Group, 35 for Denami, and 30 for Crux. That is a typo on this contract, and will be returned. We'll get a updated page 1.
Okay, so 35 for Denami, 25,000 for Popular, and then 30 for Crux.
Correct.
Okay. And then Nick can have all the typos corrected.
No,
Bye.
Nick will not do that. Nick's approved the content. This is a physical error, and so when I will send this back to them. Say you need to change that physical error to 5,000 from 10,000. Everything else is fine. They'll sign it, and then we'll sign it. And we'll be fine.
And so that will be available Thursday night.
Yes, sir.
So-
Oh, absolutely. This will be available tomorrow morning.
But Nick has looked at these contracts.
Yes, sir. Yes, and approved. And I've got. If you need to see the email, you want me to write me a copy of the email, I'll be glad to forward that to you.
So any motion should indicate those changes.
Yes, please.
With those changes.
Yes, I would appreciate that.
Mayor, can I also make a comment?
Please.
So also the school system, the commission will not see ours come before the full commission because we have different purchasing authority, and so it's within our contract line items. You'll see something on a budget amendment. But within our school system, we're good. Our school board supports it as well.
School board,
Yep. Okay. If school board supports it, they're aware.
so once you finish, you would give health and ed an update?
Absolutely. I'll give an update for sure.
So part of the lobbyist efforts
Mm-hmm.
through the school board will be, in essence, the county powers relief act as
Absolutely.
well.
That's number one, and then TISA is our fall back on number 2.
Right,
So
and
everything's
then
with.
our strategy is the same strategy as our plan B. Well, not really plan B, but a secondary issue is the forensic center. And to be sure, all 5 lobbyists will be working on all 3 issues. And they understand that. But the primary issue is the amending of the County Powers Relief Act. And I have asked Commissioner Harris to attend because there was some misunderstanding about the role steering should have played in this. And I will always endeavor to be transparent and open. So I want to open the meeting up to Commissioner Harris to ask some questions, because I know he's got some concerns and questions, and I want to make sure those get addressed. Commissioner Harris, do you have
Thank
something?
you. I've done a lot of thinking on this. And one of the things is there's a legislative branch, executive, and a judicial. We're all checks and balances. All right. I don't have a problem with this as far as hiring a lobbyist. I think it's a good idea. My question was that steering should have been involved in this in some way. And if you look at it on the outside, you gentlemen are hearing about this for the first time, and we're going to be asked to vote on it Thursday night when we don't know anything about it. I got this today. It's the first thing I heard about them, and I felt like I was under the impression, and this, to the mayor, there is a misunderstanding because he understands it the way he's doing it, and I understood it as we gave him the authority of up to $100,000 and start the RFP process. I was under the impression it goes to steering and then comes to you, but it's not. That's not what's going to happen. It's not going to go to steering, and I'm in a bad spot here because just what you said and everybody else, we're under a timeline. We got to get this in, and so it puts me in a bad spot. I think it should go back to steering, but I'm not going to step in way of this. But I want to be sure by this committee and by this mayor, lesson learned, and let's not go through this again. I made a mistake. I should have been more precise in my motion, and I will from here on out. But steering is the legislative part of this commission. We are over government affairs and legislative process. This is the most important legislation we've dealt with in decades. We are doing something that is precedent. This has never happened before. And so to not have steering involved in this in any way whatsoever, to me, is a mistake. But I'm going to say it's an honest mistake. And I take blame for it as well. So I do not think the mayor acted maliciously on anything. I don't. But I think that we should be in tune on this. Probably there's going to be a motion to accept this. I will be putting an amendment on it, and that amendment's going to be that Mayor Carr reports to steering and let us know what's going on. If it's confidential, then we'll call it an executive session, and then we go through it from there. But there's no way that we can give $100,000 in 6 months and us not know what's going on.
So if I could interject.
Go ahead.
I believe when this came up in full commission, the request for $100,000 and approved, if I'm not mistaken, you made it a point to put that in as a provision saying, would you be willing to report, you were addressing me at the time, would you be willing to report to the steering committee progress reports on and activities going on in the legislature with regard to the lobbying firms? That was my understanding, and my clear understanding is I agreed to then, and I most certainly would do that tonight. Moreover, I don't believe that one report enough to anybody in the commission is sufficient because of the rapid nature that this stuff moves through. You don't know unless you've been there. This is going to be over and done with in 4 months. And quite honestly, I would like for Chairman Phillips and maybe you, Mr. Chairman, come up with another timing or a meeting where I could give a report. Because I think 2 reports a month would be more necessary, and maybe even weekly would be more necessary than once a month. Just because there would be a tremendous amount happening between the month of February and the month of March, as an example. And it's my full intent to make sure that you guys know exactly what's going on and there not being delay. And if there is a decision that needs to be made, I don't know what that would be, but you just don't know. We need to be able to respond very quickly, but we also need to respond within the defined process. I do believe, like Commissioner Harris, we can have both, but it's going to take a little bit of planning on our part to put that into place. So I don't know what that looks like, but I don't believe 1 report a month would be sufficient. I'll be glad to give you 1 a month, but I would prefer at least 2. And we just need another vehicle to do that. And this may not be the place to discuss this, but that's my alternative proposal to what Commissioner Harris is saying.
If it's okay with Chairman Harris, we'll get with the county attorney and try to work out some details as to how that can happen and be above board and not violate sunshine laws and those kinds of things.
Commissioner McAdoo.
Okay.
We got a meeting January 17th, steering. We can bring it up on the other business. And I agree with
I got it in there right now,
I
sir.
agree with you 100%. The state moves fast. If we wait a month, we out of luck. a minimum of 2 meetings a month. And maybe just one meeting with only on the agenda, this County Powers Relief Act update. And so we really do need to look at it a minimum of 2 meetings a month.
Are you suggesting that we have a special meeting?
I think
Just
so.
just on him making a report?
I believe so. I think so. Because I look at Public Works, they had a special meeting just for the landfill. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, if we got something this big that we're trying to do the first time in Rutherford County, first time, that we need a special meeting assigned to that one statement.
So, I don't disagree. What I don't want to do is have a specially called meeting and I got nothing to report.
Oh, if you
because here's maybe just the process is,
Yeah.
if the bill's not put on notice and it's not moving in through any committees or subcommittees, there's not a lot to
Yeah.
report.
Right.
But once the bill gets on notice and it's starting moving through the committee, whether it's the House or Senate, things tend to move fairly quickly. That's when we need to have the structure in place to respond. And I would think that Commissioner McAdoo's
Right.
then suggestion would have merit at that point.
What I'm saying is, we will have it scheduled, but if you have nothing to report, we won't meet.
Right.
Very
Yeah,
simple.
we meet once a month,
Yeah,
and then if it's starting to get traction,
right,
then we'll go to where we have to have a special meeting.
right,
And we'll go with it from there. That way we're not having meetings for me paying everybody.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and-
right.
And
And
what
not
I
do
will do is I will work with you, Mr. Chairman, in that regard, and you can communicate to the larger body.
Not to be hashing stuff out here.
Right.
Okay? I'll take the lead.
Right.
I'll get with Nick and make sure that we're doing sunshine laws.
Right.
And if all that's okay, I'll get with Commissioner Harris and we'll put some dates together.
That'll be great.
And if one of those dates come up and we don't have anything, then we'll just cancel the meeting.
Okay, perfect.
So you're saying that you are taking the lead, but I'm involved with this process.
No, I'll take the lead on how to communicate that process, and that will be through steering.
Okay.
I think something to think about also is that, it's like Greg was saying, that you don't want to call a special meeting for 15 minutes of discussion. If we have to make a decision, like a quick decision, the steering can have a special call meeting. The mayor can make a report to steering, the mayor can make a report to purchasing. There's your 2 meetings. There's your 2 reports. And then if you meet with us, if you give us a report first, you can still get the same report plus additional reports
That's correct.
to steering. And that way we have 2 meetings a month that we know you're going to give some kind of a report. It may be 5 minutes, it may be 20 minutes.
We don't know yet.
Whatever that
Right.
takes. But if there's a quick decision that you got to make quickly, then we can call a special steering meeting
So-
at that time. I don't see a special steering meeting every month for 4 months.
If I may interject here, so I am kind of like the coordinator for the 5 lobbying groups on behalf of the Rutherford County School Board. I would like for Dr. Sullivan, of course, to be a part of all this. I want that to be on the record as well, since it's the Rutherford County School Board that also has retained 2 of these that are working in concert with the other 3.
But he's already mentioned, I think, that you're going to report to public safety.
No,
I mean, health and ed. You're going to
ed.
report to health
Yeah,
and ed,
correct.
monthly, and so. But yeah, I just want to throw that idea out there.
That's a good
Not
idea.
for us to discuss it
It's a good
now.
idea.
Well,
We'll work out the details and get those done this week sometime, okay?
If steering meets first Monday, okay, he's giving a report. All right. So then you meet the next. Is this a special meeting or is this when you
Yes.
meet?
This
This
is
is
special.
special.
This is a special meeting. When does purchasing meet?
Next week.
Next week.
17.
So
Is it the third Tuesday?
3rd Tuesday.
Okay.
so if something happens in those 2 weeks, then steering's being left out because you're asking them to come to purchasing and make information that should go through
Steering
steering.
won't be left out.
No. In other words, if there's something, he's going to give a report to steering. Okay? The report he gives to purchasing may be the same report. But if there's anything new, he can add that to our report and then follow up back next month with you, with steering, on all the information. So everyone's caught up on information. If there's a decision that needs to be made quickly, then I would assume he'd call you, hey, we need a steering meeting as quick as possible because we got to make a decision. If that
I
makes
just don't
sense.
I just don't want purchasing to supersede steering on anything. I mean, that's
Well,
not,
no,
that's
I
not
don't
what
think-
purchasing
yeah.
does, it's what steering does. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, here's the problem, is that we gotta be precise in what we say. Because we wouldn't be in this spot. If I was more precise in what I was supposed to say, we wouldn't be in this spot. And I wouldn't have to worry about this, but I think that any legislative things that deal with legislation needs and has to go through steering. That's who we are. And, we got a resolution coming up tomorrow. It should have went through steering. But again, we're under the gun and we got to get this stuff done because we only got till January 31st. But it can't happen anymore because, steering will block anything from here on out if it doesn't go through steering and legislation. We're going to do that from here on out. And that's the way it is for 30 years, 100 years, or whatever. And do not think that I'm being out of line here. I don't think that I'm asking for anything that's not normal and what is exactly what it is. But legislation needs to go through steering.
Agreed. Let me just kind of wrap this thing up. We're kind of talking and things other than purchasing right now. As chairman of the commission, I'll take the lead with Nick, and it will fully involve steering. And when we hash something out and work something out, you'll be the first person I'll call. You'll be the second person I call. You'll be the third person I call.
Don't even call me.
Call me.
I think I should be the
I'll already know.
Okay, you'll be
Call
the
my
first person.
chairman.
But
That's what I'm
and
looking
to
at.
get your input on all this, but steering will take the lead.
Yeah, I'm looking at-
So do we need to make a motion
Well, you
on this
don't.
verbiage,
Yeah,
or
you don't.
is his, what he said, since it's on camera and before y'all, is that good enough?
Well, I'm gonna make a motion.
We're-
You'll make the motion?
I would like,
Okay,
I would
and-
like a motion and a second and a vote from purchasing committee to move this to full commission for approval.
Okay, if I may, I will move that we send the mayor's recommendation of Crux,
Denami.
Denami, and Popular Group to the full commission, and that the mayor makes monthly reports to steering and to purchasing, calling a special meeting with steering on the occasion that we need to make a timely decision.
And
And
that Crux
that Crux
is not,
it goes to 30,000.
Can you make that subject to Crux changing the dollar amount to 30,000?
that's correct.
Yes, if I can finish my paragraph.
That's what you said.
Dependent upon Crux changing the number to 30,000 and Poplar 25,000 and Gemini 35,000.
That's correct.
Did you get that motion?
I'll watch it tomorrow.
Okay.
I was talking slow.
They kept interrupting.
They did.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
I do have a comment.
I was gonna ask for further discussion or question.
The Tennessee County Commissioners Association, I don't know if y'all pay attention, but during the legislative session, they are constantly sending us updates in an email. And if you follow that, you pretty well keep your finger on what's going on there. The only thing that you don't really see and that I'd like in this report was which of our legislative body people are supporting us or avoiding the issue or whatever. I want to make sure I know where our people stand. But those are the kind of reports that I'd like to be getting, and I can get those in an email. And if there's something we need to vote on, I agree. Chairman Harris call a special meeting and then we'll look at it.
Well, and on the 17th, we may get the answer.
Yeah. Yep.
True enough.
17, get that.
Any other questions or comments? Carl, if you'll call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Education.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Thank you.
Is there any other business? Seeing none, special meeting purchasing is adjourned.